half. I've been in Lattice for a year, did a bunch of stuff. I've been on blockchain for like 6 years now, which is really fun. And I'll start with a quote, right? Like, the games are, to a certain extent, if you look at them as worlds, it's a battle for ontological power, right? Who has the biggest will? There is a tension between the game creator and the game players, the game inhabitants, looking for power of meaning to make the game exist and to see who puts it ahead and who is actually guiding the evolution of this space. I want to put a disclaimer. Everybody here seems to be a bit older, so that's fine. So there will be crude behavior described in this presentation of abusive and aggressive nature performed by players in different games. So if it's something that bothers you, that triggers you, please leave. Okay, cool. So blockchain is the next frontier and the most awesome thing ever, right? We're in the cusp of the beginning of a new world where, software does its own thing and AI, and it's the new software, new entertainment category, right? Yeah. Let's be honest about this. We're not there yet. So the first thing that we have to understand about blockchain is that it's not great on some basic things to make games. It has no real time. Randomness is always iffy because it's not really real. And there's no information asymmetry, right? Even when you try to do ZK, you kind of get around it, right? So this makes it very bad for games in general, because games are a very large category. But it has some unique strengths that nobody else, like that other places have, but like it's really, really embedded in the blockchain logic, in the crypto logic. And we have seen glimpses of these things coming up naturally, like we saw it in Loot, we saw it in FOMO 3D, we saw it in X Infinity, we saw it in Dark Forest, we saw it in CryptoKitties. But it never stayed, right? And we have seen them in these things, but is it the only time we saw them? Haven't we seen those things before? So before the blockchain, these things have happened in different ways because they come from a different principle that is not that's not the technology itself. Technology is just a way to make it happen easier, right? Multiplayer doesn't come from the internet. Games don't come from computers. They are just better means for those things to happen, for those things to exist. This is what happened before. So in 2001, Halo player used teabagging as a taunt move. This is a creativity move from the players. It basically requires a persistent corpse, a crouch action, and someone to look at it. So again, more individual freedom, right? Sims Online, 2003, players actually started to run brothels and make money with that. Cherry on top, the player who ran the biggest brothel was a minor. It's really bad. Max's employees were rumored to go to the brothels, and even while others were trying to ban. And again, more ban hammer, more people banned, more the devs trying to fight the players, making shit basically in their universe. There are also more capitalistic initiatives that are outside of the purview of the developer. So there's gold farming. Wow, it has been happening forever. They have been trying to curb it since it started. They ban people, they hunt sites. In 2015, they make the WoW token, right? That is basically the same design of plaques from Eve, trying to make sure that there is a correct market for that. So this is also another one. This one is a little bit different because it's actually a bug. It's the Falador massacre that happened on RuneScape. They could actually play PvP in the PvE area, and they just murdered everybody and got all the party hats, because that's what matters in RuneScape, is having as many party hats as you can. The way they fixed the bug was really weird because so this is important. The devs couldn't find the bug. They paused the whole PvP in the whole game for hours, while one of the devs rewrote the entire PvP system and did a different check that was tile-based. So every beat, each character was being tested for the tile they were standing on, if it was a PvP or a PvE. There were no more zone gating or anything, because they realized that the zone gating they had was too porous, and people could come into the PvE zone with a PvP flag on. So they basically paused the world, fixed it, redid the basic digital physics rules of the thing, and they said, okay, now you can play again. Blockchain. So this is a really funny one. The Second Life is very special one. We talk a lot about Eve, but I think that we should sometimes talk about Second Life. It's a very weird thing that happened, and there were flying penises during an interview. So this is a real estate mogul person from the virtual world of Second Life. The person was actually a real-life millionaire from owning digital land. Again, this is 2006, so selling digital land is not new, right? And people were rich before, like 10 years before whatever the blockchain thing was. So this is CNET, the website. They had an interview, they're doing the interview, and then people who were there, like you guys, like then started to throw penises, and then the person on the stage had to run. So it was really funny. Eve had online casinos, right? Players would allow you to go to a website with the APIs and all that. You would deposit money in a corp, a casino corp. Then you go to the site, play the casino, and then get money out. They had to change the EULA, the end user license agreement. They changed it so they could ban these people because it was starting to get too tough. Money laundering. Again, blockchain. This was really before. So these are all like bad behavior. It's all, oh, I don't want these things to be happening in my game. I'm going to ban people. I'm going to stop them from doing that. This is something that's running out of my control as a dev, and I'm going to stop it. I'm going to use the power that I have to do that. But sometimes they do things that I like. So in 2000, they made Counter-Strike out of Half-Life. This is by the way, this is Dust 2, the best shooter map ever made in the universe. This is probably one of the best games. Like for me, honestly, Counter-Strike is there with chess and poker and Go, and it's really a beautiful game. So they made the mod. The mod got really popular. What happened? Valve, the creator of Half-Life, bought and released Counter-Strike. Eon of Strife, Skystrike, was a custom map built on top of StarCraft. It started to evolve and all that. It ended up becoming Dota and all that. Very popular. What happens? It's copied and commercialized by Riot as League of Legends, and it's also bought by Valve, again, buying one of their the mods made on top of their games, and becomes Dota 2, right? The modder was like, think of his situation. I made this thing. This thing is like, I got more users than the original game. I can either sell to them or they're going to curb me, right? They can stop you. And yeah. So this one is a mod within a mod within a mod. Is interesting. So like there was DayZ, that's an Arma 2 mod. By the Arma 2, Counter-Strike is really cool. Arma 2 is kind of on a different spectrum because it's really, really hard to play. It's a very complicated game. But anyway, it's great to mod. So they made DayZ, which is a really cool survivor. Then there was a mod on top of that was DayZ Battle Royale, which became PUBG, which was bought by Krafton and Tencent, and which was also, to a certain extent, copied by Fortnite, with some spins on top. So there are basically two paths that you see when it comes out. Like one is they will curb things that get out of control from the devs. On the other path is like, I'll buy it if it's too good. So it feels like the player who's developing, the people who are actually pushing the world forward in pure creativity are kind of fucked. They don't have where to run. But the thing is that, why are they doing these things? Why are they ruining my game? Why are they running away from what I expected them to do, right? They do things that we don't expect. And it's not because there is blockchain, it's because there is a community there. It's because there's other people, right? The players use the system to interact with each other. The game is just like a base, right? And as they react consistently to something that you do, independent of the rules of the game, that will become a rule. They kind of take the ontological high point of controlling the ontology. They controlling reality, right? It is what happens. We can't say, oh, so the whole like the brothel thing and trying to ban people, it's trying to control reality because things that happened are not what the dev wanted. So any level is vulnerable to this. So like there, I should have like there's kind of like a X and Y thing. So it's like it can be like more high level, like the crouching thing, where it doesn't really bother the system, but it's very symbolic. And then you have the lower level where it's like the PvE, PvP thing, where you're basically exploiting a bug. But then there's also like bad taste, breaks the game, you know, a different game, narrative, like anything can happen. What can we, and this is what composability is, embracing that it is not controllable. So what can we as developers do, right? So yeah, Tyler Durden said, stop trying to control everything and just let go, man. Like, there is no way to control it. And if you try to control it on the blockchain, good luck, because you're kind of going against the grain of the blockchain. I love this movie too, by the way. I'm just putting like Counter-Strike and Fight Club, all cool stuff. So take a step back now. We're talking about autonomous worlds. It's a big word, and like we're making this thing. And so if it's really autonomous, it's not yours, right? It's from the inhabitants. The inhabitants control. There is no God, right? Like I'm gonna go Nietzsche now. Yeah, fuck, God's dead. We're all dead. So there is a way that we can kind of protect it, and that's when we go back to the whole digital physics, and it's complicated, right? Where are we? What can we use to control this? We should not be writing constitutions. Constitutions are what the players write. We have a lower level, like natural rules. So there was this funny thing when I was at EVE. I was very close at the economy, and players who were like playing the markets, they would come to me and talk about the price of this thing, or someone's cornering a market, or availability of that. I said, dude, like, CCP is not the central bank. The rule of the developer is not being a central bank and play with the interest rates. That's too close to the game. That's too much of agency. The role of the developer is something below. It's like Mother Nature. It's like you define how much oil burns. You define the amount of energy that comes from burning a molecule of oil. You decide how much friction is there on ice or on grass. That is what you do. And then on top of that, they write the constitutions, they make their empires, they burn and destroy, and, So this is really cool, Raf. It's very trippy, and I'm very inspired to allow people to do whatever. But I have a game to ship, and there's sprint planning Monday. How the fuck do I put this on my sprint planning? Yeah, that is, we're doing games and not taking LSD every Monday, even though we wish we could. So I'm going to give 5 simple things, right? 5 simple things that we should keep in mind as we are making these, because in the end of the day, it's all about shipping. And again, an uninhabited world is a non-existent world. So less is usually better. The less you do, the better. Don't pull levers on scarcity. Like, this is a very clear example that happened and that I think is responsible for a huge part of the crash of the whole entertainment on blockchain things that we saw a couple of years ago. Basically, when you look at, I'm going to give one example I was part of, like Top Shot, and also X Infinity that I was very close. I was looking like they were creating NFTs, and they were pulling levers on the supply side to match the demand side as demand went rampant. They were changing the system as it went along. What happened? There was a huge crash. There was all those things up and down. They increased the level of volatility. Bitcoin or Ethereum, they didn't touch the fucking levers. Demand went crazy. Supply stayed still, right? Let it ride. Don't touch. Don't play the game. Don't be an agent, right? Be Mother Nature. And I think that, doing less. I joke, Hilmar's not here, but sometimes I joke, like one of the biggest and hardest things CCP ever did to keep EVE Online alive for 20 years was not doing a lot of shit. It's really hard to not do stuff. So again, simple systems with clear incentives. The simpler the system, the more open space there is. Blank space between systems, between elements, are holes that players can fill. Oh, I'm gonna make a market in my game, and this. No, don't. No, you don't need to have a market. Players can build that for you, and someone can build that and be responsible for that and fulfill that need in a way that you didn't think possible. These holes are really, really important because they are where composability sneaks into the game. And if you manage to interweave composability and things that are created by you and by other players, suddenly, and by actual players / devs, you don't have it's a really multiple universe. It's not like one vision, and it becomes this crazy thing, right? And don't confuse making simple system with doing very little, because simple and small systems, you usually achieve them by subtraction. That's very Japanese, that's very Zen, but it is subtraction is really, really important. Especially if you want your game to be consistent, to be persistent, model to the limit. Go do ridiculous amounts of usage, ridiculous low amount of usage. What is going, see how the thing behaves on those two extremes, plot the graph, do the spreadsheet, put silly numbers again and again and again. This will happen. All the things that you don't want to happen, they will happen, and you got to know how to respond to them. And then you'll not do what you said you would. Testing to the max. This is classic. Everything you do, put it out as soon as possible. Players are going to do things that you don't want them to do, and let them play. Shut up. Learn. It's not your game. It's their game. Games are a performative art. This is an important thing, right? Games are performative art. They don't exist by themselves. They only exist when they are played, and the player has a role in the realization of the art form. Just like an athlete is important to the sport, a player is important to the game. They own the game. So, let them play. Are they having fun? Maybe, and by having fun doesn't mean they are doing what they were supposed to do. It's are they engaged? Are they concentrated? Do they want to play again when the thing is over? Are they trying to come back? Are they make meaningful choices? Are they having a hard time knowing what they are picking? Because the game's just about making choices. So maybe they are making choices that you didn't expect them to do, but they are having fun. How can you tell them that that's not the right kind of fun? And maybe you found different people, right? It's a game for a different audience than I expected. Own it. Okay, so these are my 5 simple things. I have to leave you guys with a question, and the question is, what is going on inside your player's head? Because it doesn't matter the game you're making, it's actually happening inside the player's head, and that's all that matters. No matter how pretty your code is, your graphs, this is what matters, and you got to know that. Or you have to have a good idea about it. Okay, that's it.